this pink ribbon off my eye. I'm exposed and it's no big surprise. Don't you think I know exactly where I stand? The world is forcing me to hold your hand, 'cause I'm just a girl, oh little old me. Well, don't let me out of your sight. Oh, I'm just a girl, all pretty and petite, so don't let me have any rights. Oh, I've had it up to here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. You want more? Oh my. 'Cause I'm just a girl, I'd rather not be, 'cause they won't let me drive late at night. Oh, I'm just a girl, 'cause I'm some kind of freak, 'cause they all sit and stare with their eyes. Oh, I'm making myself clear. Yes, that is an opus by the one and only revolutionary group, No Doubt. You know what? You know what I miss? I miss the days. Well, maybe I'm not young enough anymore, because like I used to know all the white songs, girl. I knew all the white songs. And I don't know if it's because of just the MTV era, like growing up during the TRL times and having those songs be kind of the epicenter of pop culture. So if you didn't know what NSYNC was talking about, if you didn't know No Doubt, if you didn't have your Lamb Gwen Stefani purse, you really wasn't about shit. What a time. What a time. Oh my God. You know, I was hoping that when they brought back the throwback Christian Dior prints, that they would bring back Lamb by Gwen Stefani. I really did. She is probably one of the only artists that I feel who was able to make probably not, I wouldn't consider what she did with Lamb all the way luxury, because I feel like there was some affordable things in there. I myself had a delicious green, yellow, and black bag. A lot of her designs were kind of based off of like Caribbean and African influence. You know, Gwen, can we call Gwen? Hey, girl. I know you're listening, Gwen Stefani. I know you are. And honestly, girl, now that you are dating a man who really loves country, are you not into Rasta anymore? You're not into, so because the green, yellow, and gold don't make no money for you no more, you're not fucking with us? I'm just asking. Anywho's, you are tuned in to an all new, exciting, exhilarating, and breathtaking episode of A Seat of the Table. Seat of the table, seat at the table. Ugh. What are you gonna do? Listen, I'm your host, Gail, and thank you guys for tuning in. Yes, it's late. Don't roll your eyes at me. Listen, a sister had to go to work. I'm not luxurious like you, okay? Sitting at home, stuffing your face with couscous and things like that, and, you know, having your cheap Trader Joe's wine. I ain't mad. I'm home now, so, you know, it's all good. I'm just saying I did have to get up at the butt crack of dawn, honey, right at the top. Bitch. It's hard out here for the pimps, okay? And then for the hoes, it's even worse. So, how are ya? What's going on? How's everything going? Great. Good to hear it. So what shall we get into first? So, okay. Definitely checking in, a wellness check with you. How are you dealing with this new time adjustment? So literally one day I woke up this week and I guess spring had sprung, because unbeknownst to me, I got up was walking out the door and it was sunny. The birds was chirping. And this was after a day of a snowstorm. So this Monday in New York City in the tri-state area, this past Monday, we did have a little bit of a sizable snow squall, if you will. A little bit more than a squall, actually, but literally the next day it was like, all right, 6 o'clock, the sun is coming up. I love when we adjust the time to, be lighter early and longer days of lightness. So, you're going to get sunset at this point, maybe about 6:30-ish, when before, in the height of winter, you're getting sunset at like 4:30. So, anywho's. So that was a great happenings on my end, because are you one of those seasonal depression girls? I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but definitely one of those things where I am affected by just, if it gets darker early, I'm probably spiraling into just some sadness. Yes. Speaking of sadness, so how was the work week for you? Now, if you are currently unemployed, but loving it, good on you. Definitely praying for those who are unemployed and who are currently looking for a way to financially secure the bag. I stopped wishing labor on people, because I don't necessarily know that everyone is praying for labor as much as people are praying for financial stability and the ability to be able to care for themselves and their loved ones if it is applicable. So what I'm realizing after one full year of COVIDness, and it's still happening, is that a lot of people want jobs, but they don't want to work. They don't want to work. One of the things that we have to acknowledge about the past year is that there's definitely been some sort of, I think at least, a sway, if you will, in what was socially normal and what's socially acceptable. And I mean that far beyond just sharing space and air. What I'm realizing is that this year of being locked up has either changed people into like egoic caveman monsters, or people who have taken that time to really become actualized and work on social graces and decorum, if you will. One of the things that I encountered this week was a really weird situation on the professional front where, first of all, show of hands, how many people have ever been had some sort of disciplinary action taken against them at work, whether it's been a face-to-face, which I guess would be more of a technical term of like hey, this is a warning. And then firing shots actually coming with paperwork. So I have been on both sides, the disseminator of that kind of for me, corporate punishment versus being on the other end and receiving it. And I know much early in my professional career where, I thought I knew everything, and perhaps my ego was a little bit more inflated, because let's be honest, when you are a Black person entering into the professional world in your 20s, or kind of settling into your professional world in your 20s, the stride that you oftentimes hit is, okay, now I finally feel comfortable in what I'm doing. I can really command attention at this point in terms of how I see certain things and whatever genre you work in. You become a little bit more respected in the later half of your 20s, depending on how long you've been chipping away at a particular career. So for me, I have been pretty much doing some facet of retail or fashion for at least the past 20 years. So for me in my 20s, I had been in it at that point for at least, hitting benchmarks of the first 5 to 10 years of my professional career post-college. And so, it was definitely a different time for me mentally and emotionally. I know that I had an attitude at some point. I know that depending on who was my manager, either I was dealing with people who really either needed to manage my personality, depending on what the job was, or they needed to manage my projects. I've never had a situation where I've had a boss had to manage both because I was ill-equipped to do the job and had a nasty attitude to boot. Either I was learning, and so I kind of put myself in a mental space of being more humble, or I was there and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm there. You know what I mean? I'm doing my thing. The problem with both scenarios is if you have a boss who is primarily having to manage your personality in the workplace and not necessarily your projects because you're really well versed or proficient at what you're doing, then more times than not, if I've been the boss on the other end, I'm more apt to deal with attitudes and having to manage some segment of your personality for 8 hours, if that means that the work that you're doing is proficient at its worst. If I have to, or if I've had a manager who also then said, okay, well, your personality is, either you're passive aggressive or you have an attitude or, you don't respond well to certain things, they've always been able to lend a hand with saying, but you are really good at your job. So what I want to do is coach you to kind of perceptively put a better foot forward so that I can, help you get to the next place. And if it were vice versa and it was like, listen, I'm going to help you because you've got a really great personality. You really seem to be into the job. But I've, again, never had a situation where it was like she's got a bad attitude and the work that she's doing is okay at best. It takes a lot of ego work when you are at work. Again, and I say this week after week, it's one of the places that you don't get to curate who is along for the ride. And though you guys are all there for the same reason, your contribution to the business could be very different. Therefore, how I view your contribution, could heavily weigh on the way that my perspective of you. So I say all that to say, really take stock of when you are in the professional place. Really try to take stock in what it is that you're bringing to the table and the weight of that. Now, and I say that with the caveat of really questioning your ego. And what I mean by that is a lot of times people will, I'll use myself. In my past, what I have done is if I was insecure about the level of work that I was doing, I could always then kind of lean back on the fact that I'm willing to learn and I'm open to criticism. And a lot of that for me came much further in my 30s, where it was like, all right, perhaps there is still something for me to learn. And so my foot wasn't as heavy on the gas of I know everything. And it was really more so about really respecting, even if I didn't personally like the person that I was reporting to or whatever the case is, it was really more what I realized this week at work is people give away their agency so freely. People are so willing to give away their agency. And what I mean by that is, so for me, I could view my experience at a particular job during